Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another lovely video. I am Julia. I don't know why I'm introducing myself, but if you don't know me, my name's Julia. Yeah, and today I kind of wanted to talk about reading slumps and I don't know, it's just something I feel like I went through really big and I felt really bad about it and I kind of wanted to discuss it and talk about that side of reading too because I feel like it's very evident and it's something that happens a lot. So I kind of just wanted to dive into that a bit and discuss with you guys, my favorite people. Okay, first I feel like for my personal journey, a little backstory. I've been reading forever. I've always loved reading a lot, but it wasn't until freshman year of my high school years that I really started reading romance and kind of reading more than I was in grade school or whatever, and kind of really finding enjoyment with reading. I mean, I enjoyed reading in grade school, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the times it was just kind of more homework based or whatever. Um, and then so in high school I started reading romance and stuff and it kind of just kept building. So all 4 years of high school I just kept kind of reading more and more, but I still probably wasn't reading that many. I don't think I kept track of how many books I read then, so I don't really know how many I was reading, but probably 12 a year or something, which is great and wonderful. But I would later go on to read a lot more. So then my senior year, sorry about my dogs barking. And then my senior year of high school, freshman year of college, I kind of started to pick up a little bit of steam and started reading some more. And I think a lot of that had to do with I was living on my own for the first time. I was away from everything, I mean, I had friends, don't get me wrong, in college. I loved my college years. I had a lot of friends. I had great times. But you still have a lot of downtime because I was living with a stranger. I wasn't super great friends with my roommate. I don't know. I just had a lot of downtime. So I feel like I filled a lot of that space with reading. So I think in college I kind of elevated how much I read. And then it just kept going up. So sophomore year, I think I read more. And sophomore year was also when COVID started, that March, obviously. So that was a lot of reading time because again, we weren't going out doing things. So that was a very easy way to start reading. And honestly, I think 2020 on was when I started really reading a lot, again because I had the opportunity. And junior year I eventually went back to school. We were online but I still was living in Chicago where my school was. Um, and it was just a lot of, again, alone time, downtime, because obviously we were trying to keep safe, and reading during classes and things like that to try to keep me entertained, that I did that had my reading really going up. So I think I started keeping tracks of how many books I read in 2018 or 2019, and I kind of want to do a video on talking about the books I read then, or even just reading them because they're all in my notebook. They're not really anywhere else. I didn't use Goodreads or Storygraph or anything back then. So I'm just kind of curious of what books I even read and just to see what ones and how many, because I kind of don't remember at all. But I think I started keeping track in 2020, I want to say. Yeah, and anyways, and then last year, 2022, was my highest reading year of my life. I read 120, I think it ended up being, books, which I know is super crazy. And what was even crazier was that I hit 100 books in May. So it wasn't even that was a very unproportionate year. I read the 100 in basically I think it was the anime, so basically 6 months, half of the year, and then the other half of the year I only read 20, which again, only read 20. 20 is still a lot of books. I understand that, but very different between the two, you know what I mean? So that's the little backstory I think you guys need to kind of understand. So I'm coming off of a year where I read 120 books, and also again 100 books in 6 months, and then 20. So when that 6 months kind of, okay, I'm describing this poorly. So in 2022, in the first 6 months, I read 100 books, and then I dropped down the other 6 months to only reading 20 books. And that felt so weird and wrong and I felt so disappointed in myself. That's when it like first started kind of happening because for me, I was just like for at least like 2 years now or something, like that was my peak, but I was still reading about like I would definitely say like a book a week or something like that, like for sure. So it was so weird to go from like for like 2.5 years of my life going from reading like a book a week to then or more to then not doing that anymore. Um, and I kind of just went through this period of like not really wanting to read. Like I think a lot of it can like a lot of different factors contributed to it. I think I had like a lot of books that I didn't really enjoy in those 6 months, and I had books that were just like not interesting me. I was kind of struggling finding a lot of books that were like really seemed interesting to me and really seemed like really good to me. I like stopped watching all like of the booktubers I love and like the book talk. Like I wasn't on book talk like at all anymore. So I just felt like very separated from this community that like I love and I had loved for so long. And I just felt like I couldn't really be a part of it because I just felt so disappointed that I wasn't reading to the level I wanted to be reading anymore, if that makes sense. And then when 2022 ended, I was kind of like, okay, this is a brand new page. Like winter, I always tend to read more just because you're inside more and like my family loves football and I don't like football at all. So they all watch that and then I read and like it's a nice little time for me. So I always tend to read more in the winter. So I was like, okay, like January, like we're gonna start reading a lot more. Like this is gonna be good. And then it just kind of didn't happen. I think right now I'm on book I want to say 16. Yeah, I've read 16 books in 2023, which honestly I'm proud of now, but I know in like January and February I was not reading like the speed at which I was really happy with. And I think a lot of that also contributed to the fact of I didn't post videos from the end of 2022 to like last month of 2023, which is a long time. And I think it was just such a, I didn't know what to post about because I was like, I'm not reading. Like, and in my mind, when I'm like thinking about videos I want to put out, I'm thinking about like I want to do series and I want to do like multiple books and I want to talk about like different things like that. So it's like I don't want to just read one book and talk to you about it, which I think can be fun and I'm re trying to relearn and like retake away these like rules I had for myself, but I just didn't know what to do, so I just stopped, which I don't think was necessarily the right call for me because I missed it so much and I wanted to get back to it, but then the further away I got from it, I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do now? And now it's been so long and like now it's a whole big thing and like I feel like that's kind of how it felt to me. So that wasn't fun either. I think a lot of it just had such like shame built into it, which is so silly because reading's supposed to be like this fun activity that like it's definitely always been like escapism for me. Like it's supposed to be this nice activity that I do for fun, and if it's not fun anymore, then I shouldn't be doing it. But I had such a like mentality. I think I got burned out. I think I literally just got burned out. I was reading so many books. And don't get me wrong, I loved reading that many books. Like I wanted to read all those books and like I honestly think when I was reading the majority of 2022, I was not really thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to read 10 more because I need to get 100 or like I need to do this, I need to do that. Like it did not feel like that in the moment, but then I think after the fact, I then was like when I only read 20 books in 6 months, then I was like, oh my gosh, like you need to read more books. Like you're not reading any books. Like what are you doing? You just went from reading 100 books in the same time to reading 20. Like what are you doing? And I just think I just wasn't enjoying it as much. I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself and it wasn't as fun. And I was doing other stuff. I was home with my family and I was having fun with that. I I don't know. I have a boyfriend now, which I didn't have before in 2022, which my mom thinks is the main reason of why I stopped reading as much because she was like, you have all the romance you need, which I think is very sweet, but I don't really think is true. I just think it was like I had less free time, that like free alone time that I had so much of when I was in college. So yeah, I just think that I want it to be a very safe and fun experience and community on my channel, and that includes like no book shaming. And I, not that anyone has, I'm just saying like I never want anyone to watch any of my videos and be like, oh my gosh, she reads so many books and I'm only reading X amount. Like, reading is for fun and reading is for escapism and for joy, especially romance and just like laughter and learning. And it's a form of entertainment like movies or TV or video games or whatever else. So I just really want to like hone that in, that like if you need to hear that, because I needed to hear that like 6 months ago or whatever, like it's not a competition. You're not in competition with anyone else. You're definitely not in competition with yourself. Like this year, I didn't even set a like books goal of how many you're supposed to read or whatever. I didn't set that this year, and I feel like that was kind of freeing for me. Not that I think I won't set it next year or anything, but like I had no expectations for me. So like now looking that I've had 16 books, I'm like, great, that's so fun. Like I loved those, or I liked those 16 books, and I can't wait to like look back at them at the end of the year. Like I'm not thinking as much, I don't think, about the numbers. So, yeah. And I think I've also learned I can give you guys different content that's not just centered around specific books. But don't worry, I still will be doing that. So basically this was just a video of me talking and expressing my emotions because I love doing that. And that's why I started this channel, and it's just a space for me to talk and hopefully have some people listen. So, thank you, you beautiful, wonderful viewer, for listening to me talk about this, and I hope someone today told you how beautiful and wonderful and amazing and lovely and smart and funny and caring you are. And thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.